I've heard that saving face is very important in Japan, in Asia in general. I don't know if, in negotiations, you understand the code, you not just understand the language, but you also understand the culture behind it and the use of certain sentences. This is what fascinates me about Japan. Everybody who went there, recently a friend of mine told me it's another world. And, it's very situational. The language is situational. You do certain things, it's different, and there's a beautiful culture behind it.
I mean, you don't want to make too much of these things. Because even say, okay, I'm going to be with a bunch of Italians, we're going to discuss business. You have to have a sense of how they think of their culture. That's not
exactly
unique
right.
to Japan. That's anywhere. And but you have to understand, for example, in Japanese, it's often the pause that's more important than what it's actually said. But this is not something that we cannot understand. And it's a bit like learning the language itself. It's only through enough exposure. You can't look up the rules. Like when a Japanese person says, X or Y or Z, what does it mean? No, you can't. It's not the rules. You can't explain that. But if you have been in that situation often enough, then you start to come up with a more polite expression. You start to come up with the Japanese style filler words, which has meaning but has no meaning. And but it's not like black and white different from other cultures. It's just it's a variations on a theme. But there's an expression, "Mae muki ni kento shimashou," which means we will consider this in a forward-looking manner, which means I'm not interested.
That's exactly right. That's what they talked about in the article. Yes.
Mae muki ni, like in a forward-looking manner. Mae muki ni kento shimashou. We will consider, okay, whatever. Is what he means. But I remember I was in Japan with this Swedish lumber delegation. And we have a tendency in the West to say our product is the best. Certainly North America, the Swedes, I'm sure the Italians, it's the best. It's the best. That does not, and so I had to tell the Swedish guy, he said, lumber is fine green and it's the best and high quality. I said, that doesn't go over very well. Like they know you're going to say that. So that's not worth saying. You have to be a little more humble. Humility goes over big in Japan.
Agreed.
And it's like, so anyway, the next day he said, our lumber is lousy. It's rotten. He said, and what's worse, we can't improve because we're too stupid. But it's true, and this is relatively unique to the Japanese. If a Japanese person if in doing business with the Japanese, if you say, can you do this? You're a business guy. We want you to do this. Can you do this? Japanese guy, so this, doryoku shimasu. We'll try our best. Okay, we'll try our best. That's pretty good. He's going to do it. Whereas North America, no problem. May not do it. And the Chinese are more like the North Americans. The Chinese, meyawenti. As one
no problem,
was working in China, said, if a Chinese says meyawenti, like, no problem, you got a problem.
Got a problem.
If he says, wenti Buddha, not a big problem, you got a big problem.
Well, anyway.
So, Japan in that regard is very much the understatement, the humility. So you have to know that.
Of course.
But at some point you get used to it because you have to be in enough situations. I always say that in life, the way our brains work is we develop these patterns that enable us to anticipate what's going to happen because we can't just respond from zero. We respond from all of our experiences and we anticipate. And we know from, imaging, magnetic resonance imaging of the brain that in our languages, when we understand our language, we actually anticipate what's coming. And we anticipate what's coming while we're learning. And if in fact what comes confirms that helps us confirm our knowledge of the language. If what comes back is different, then that also helps us. So that language learning has been called this probabilistic error-driven process. But it's true in life. And so at first, guy says he's going to try his best. That's not good enough. He's got to, do it or stuff. And after a while, if you've been in that situation often enough, you naturally sense, because you're with Japanese people. If I'm with Japanese people, I'm the only non-Japanese in a group of 5. I'm Japanese. I'm one of them. And I have a natural sense of what they're going to do.
It's about experience. Yeah. It's about prediction. We're a prediction machine, the human brain.
Exactly.
So if you were a secret agent, here's another interesting question. If you were a secret agent tasked with learning a language within 60 days, what would be your strategy?